It's here! It's finally here! Look at this thing. A great, great season. Gotta hand it to you, me. You really know how to... Yeah, I'm not doing this. Besides, we got several more seasons to go before we get to you. I think if there's any season of Hell's Kitchen that I could point to that has been way long overdue to be talked about in depth on this channel, it's definitely Season 22. Season 22, or better known as The American Dream, is a season that I've always wanted to talk about ever since it first aired, but I never really got a good opportunity to do so. It's primarily because I got sidetracked by life, college, work, and a certain series I've been doing. Truth be told, I was a bit hesitant to talk about this season, especially given I have hyped it up a lot in the past despite never really explaining my thoughts on it. Really, the most I mentioned it was putting it as my third favorite season and that one Shafrilla style ranking, which also resulted in the video getting copyright claimed, and talking briefly about Dania's elimination as an honorable mention in my worst eliminations video. But never have I actually sat down to review it in my usual way. The main reason for that is because I kind of like making an internal rule for myself that applies to my ranking series. I have to watch a season by myself to get an immediate reaction to it, and then I rewatch the same season with a friend so he can make shitty jokes about it, and he can provide a potentially differing opinion. He's also not someone too familiar with the show, and also not as serious about it, so he's naturally not going to watch the seasons as it airs. And that means it'll be a while before I do anything related to the cast of Head Chefs only. That also means that I kinda haven't seen The American Dream in a while, nor am I any closer to reaching it in real life. As such, I was worried that when I rewatched the season, it wasn't going to be as amazing as I remembered. After watching it again once the episodes came out on YouTube, however, all those fears were put to rest. Season 22 is still peak, and easily one of my all-time favorite seasons. I even go as far as to call it one of the most fun viewing experiences I've ever had. Yeah, it's that good. And that's why I've decided I was going to sit down, buckle up, get driving, realize too late I got in the wrong car, and crash into a home because I cut this car's brakes. We're taking a look at Hell's Kitchen 22, The American Dream. I think it's only fitting to start out with the theme of the season, The American Dream. Hell's Kitchen, ever since All Stars, had started to incorporate gimmicks and themes into their seasons to shake things up after the original format started to run a bit dry. Some of the gimmicks affected the cast, as seen with seasons like Young Guns and Head Chefs Only. Some of the gimmicks affected the challenges like in Las Vegas, but Season 22's gimmick? It's The American Dream. What does that mean? Does that mean the contestants will be going to debt soon? Immediately, people were a bit skeptical of this season. It's not just because of the fact this came out at a really rough time in America, then again we're still in one, but because no one actually had an idea of what this theme actually meant. At least with something like Las Vegas, the theme was clearly based off how the season was taking place in Las Vegas. The American Dream, on the other hand, was too vague to really nail down an idea on what to expect. However, when the season aired, our questions were answered. Based on the number of chefs who came from much more unique backgrounds and had some touching backstories, it was clear this season was, in disguise, a season for what usually would be fan favorites. Chefs like Ryan and Claudia, for example, weren't originally from America, but those types of chefs have a great track record of being fondly remembered as seen by chefs like Salvatore and Declan. There's also chefs like Renisha and Jonathan, who make several mentions about their families for those fan favorite points. And that's not even to mention the likes of the inexperienced but strong Lee, the redemption arcs of Tamir and Carmen. This season was just a spawning ground for fan favorites, and based on how well the cast was received, I like to imagine that was the case. This season was built with the intention to make the most likable and rootable cast yet, and they succeeded on all fronts. There was, however, one additional criticism of the theme: The American Dream, and how much it's mentioned. I remember seeing a lot of discussion posts to talk about how many times the words American Dream was spoken, and yeah, I'll admit it gets more than a little tiring. In fact, the first episode alone, the words American Dream was spoken about 25 times. Yes, I counted, and no, I'm not going to count the other episodes, I have better things to do. Counting the least confessionals was enough to make me have the urge to commit a few war crimes out of boredom. I'll also admit it feels more than a little condescending, and the repeating doesn't really help much. It's like having that one boss who constantly tries to give inspirational speeches, and like, they're fine the first time around, but when you hear it for the 8th time in a row, you're like, okay, we get it, we're superstars. Now are you laying me off and leaving my children without bread and milk or not? That being said, as the season progressed, I just kind of found myself tuning it out, so it didn't really affect my enjoyment too much. Plus, the repetition didn't really make a dent on the season as a whole, because holy shit, there's a lot of good this season, and I think it's about time we get to talk about it. I think it's become pretty well established that I find Hell's Kitchen to be really damn funny, whether for ironic reasons or not. There's a good reason as to why a lot of people's first experiences with the show itself is either watching Gordon Ramsay compilations or stumbling across the Best of Raj. Hilarity is part of the show's appeal, like it or not. Season 22 is a really funny season, and a lot of that I feel comes from how likable so much of the cast is. Of course, we got chefs in here like Tad the Quidditch player, who might be Sebastian levels of funny, and Brad, who is just an absolute ham. A lot of the humor in the season is just so natural, and some of these moments just feel like you're actually there with them so you can appreciate it. Special shout out to the red team failing to churn butter and making Chef Christina laugh, as well as the non-Cook for Your Life participants shouting at the screen during said challenge and acting like it's a Super Bowl game. It's just great fun. The season also manages to make moments that I usually wouldn't find funny, well, funny. It's mainly because it just escalates in ways I wouldn't even expect. Perhaps the best example of this is the food fight where, okay, food fight is fine, you know, it's okay. But then not only does Ryan beam Lee in the face with some food, but Lee also somehow manages to miss Sammy and hit Gordon instead. Like, that shit's really funny. This even applies to the rewards this season. A number of the main criticisms I've seen in this season that also applied to season 21, although I don't know if it was nearly as vocal, was that the rewards were kinda poopy. I know poopy is kind of a weird term to describe them, but I mean, Bubble Soccer, Dave & Buster's, a trailer park, fucking goat yoga? These felt like rewards that were drawn out of a hat and they came off as a bit lame on the surface. That being said, I am going to defend these rewards as well, because not only are they made way funnier than they have any right to be thanks to the reactions of the cast, but these reactions make me honestly want to try it. Maybe if I get 10k subs I'll do goat yoga, but don't hold me to that. Historically, I'm terrible with promises. However, if I had to point to one moment in particular I think gave me the biggest belly laugh I've gotten in a long time, it's definitely Brad Germain's attempt at doing the protein identification challenge. This is a challenge I hold very close to my heart, and I go as far as to call it my favorite challenge overall, which is shocking considering this debuted in Season 11, a season that makes me want to fornicate with an armed bear trap. I even made a comment on said challenge where I called this part of the episode a work of art for all the reasons listed here. Feel free to pause the video and read. But the question is, who do I find the funniest chef of this season? Well, you have to see in... I'm just going to get this out of the way. This might be my favorite cast in the show's history. Yes, I'm aware that other casts like Season 6, 12, and 14 may be higher regard both from a talent or narrative department, but Season 22's cast just absolutely knocks it out of the park. I mentioned earlier that Season 22 felt like a season that was built for fan favorites to be made, and it succeeds on that on all fronts. We got early boots like Tad, who, like I mentioned earlier, I really enjoy almost on the level of Sebastian. We got Matthias and Melissa, both of whom have little narratives before they go, which are quite nice. We got Brad, who's just the funniest part of the early season. We got Renisha, who, outside the whole argument with Carbon after the breakfast service, is pretty nice. We got Jermaine and Devin, who, okay, they're not the most memorable. And that also goes to Claudia, who also isn't that memorable. At least Jermaine and Devin got to do something before they left, but, oh man. This top 10 is so good. Sandra was always a delight, and low-key, she also has a cool last name. A toy after surviving the Cook for Your Life challenge against switched to the blue team became way more interesting after being mostly in the background. Sammy and Lee are both really likable and fun to watch, and Carmen started off not great, but she did improve by the end and did enough to hold her own against a pretty cracked final 3. But I need to talk about my 5 favorites for last because holy shit do I love these 5. Danya's my favorite member of the red team bar none, and that's saying something considering I already really like this red team. I've always liked how no nonsense she is, but still has moments where she's chill as hell. Demir is so fucking hype, dude. I love this guy. This guy is so hype, he could convince me to run out into traffic and turn myself into the greatest pelt the world has ever seen. And it sucks they had that awful Final 5 performance because I would have loved seeing him run the pass. Jonathan's just really likable, yes, outside of that one episode. And his whole friendship with Ryan is just really wholesome and gives me Paul and Will vibes. Speaking of, Ryan might be one of my favorite winners of the series. The dude is just straight up a vibe, and I love his sort of subtle development from staying mostly serious to getting goofier as the season progresses. His whole antics during the trailer park reward in particular make that reward worth it for me. But if I had to pick the funniest chef of the season, it's gotta be Jason for me. I know some people really don't like Jason, and I'll admit there were times I had no idea on how he survived elimination, but man is it worth it. I like him for the same reason I like Scott from Season 7, in that he's such an egotist, but his delusions are so over the top they loop around to becoming funnier than anything. Also, remember when I mentioned the chef ranking series? Well, back when I was going to review this season when it first came out, it would have originally had me rank everyone in this cast, and a lot of them are extremely positive. So, yes, all of this is because of Season 22 being so damn good, I decided to look at the other casts and rank them. Thank you, Season 22, for giving me a following. Quick, she transition, go! Dude, the episodes in this season are so freaking good! Seriously, from an episode quality standpoint, I think this might be the most consistently strong season in the show's history. Hell, I don't even think it really suffered from stagnation mode all too much. I mean, the closest you could get was like maybe the top 12 to 11, but even then, they were decent enough episodes. And I think a lot of this is because of the double elimination that happened in the final 14. There's a few episodes I want to shout out in particular, both for how good they are, and one for being, not the greatest. First up, Just Bring the Damn Fish. We got to see the protein identification relay, which, again, my favorite challenge, and it's just hilarious to see Brad and Jermaine struggle while Demir simulates how I feel when my aura at Red Lobster takes an hour to come out. Then the axe throwing reward was kind of fun, the punishment showed Lee getting props for Christina, and then to cap it all off, the elimination of Melissa, who I was shocked to see go this early considering her consistency and the fact she was in a bit of a narrative. That being said, I still do agree with it, and honestly, that's the best part. It's a shocking elimination done right. Then there's Fusion Confusion that has the soccer challenge, which had Jason fail over and over again to really sum him up. And then Bubble Soccer that saw someone torpedo Moscow into someone else. Dinner Service saw Demir really start to stand out and begin his redemption from box pasta to fan favorite. And then the double elimination of Brad and Renatia. Brad due to injury, and Renatia because their Pokeball made me want to puke in a bowl. Cooking for Your Life had the last chef standing, another challenge I also really like, and it had Ryan start to emerge more as a frontrunner. The reward also gave us a good amount of sous chef Jason, which was something I really wanted because he kinda didn't do that much for his first few seasons. And this is just a side note because I didn't know where else to put this, but holy shit, the sous chefs in this season actually do stuff and aren't just window dressing. Like seriously, I think this is the most I've seen Christina do stuff since season 15, however the highlight of the episode was a toy. After so much of the season of her being in the background, she just popped off here and shot up high in my favorite chefs of the season ranking. And then the Cook for Your Life challenge had Devin go home because of a persistent flaw, so it's another decent bit of narrative that I always really like. More bang for your buck, a bit more low-key, but it had the trailer park reward that was made so much better by a toys addition to the team, and Ryan just fucking around. It had the red team failing to make butter and causing Christina to lose her shit while laughing, and then there's Sandra stealing the show before her elimination by being Gladys Kegelman. But oh man, I gotta talk about a Hell's Kitchen special delivery. An episode I've heard some people say is one of the best in the show's history, which is shocking considering black jacket challenges are usually pretty controversial. Not only do we get a bunch of banker dishes and the first signs of Jonathan's fatal flaw, but the ending, oh man, the ending! Jason, the villain of the season, finally goes home on a terrible lobster dish, which is why he also presented to Ramsay as a signature dish, and then not only does Lee get a black jacket, but Ryan does too. For the first time in 10 years, 6 black jackets! I swear, you had to be around the community when that was revealed. It was legitimately like if Gorov's signature dish actually did put you in that Zen mode. And then there's hashtag Hellish Hangover, which sees Jonathan take a joke personally and get kind of annoying, and send home Demir and Lee in a double elimination. Yeah, I get the reason why, but man, it's a bit of a hard episode to watch. Fortunately, the next episode is Don't Be Fooled. It has a fun challenge, it has Jonathan and Ryan being bros in a way that, again, harkens back to Will and Paul. We got some of the best passes ever, and especially for Carmen. Like, sure, she wasn't going to win against Ryan, Jonathan, and Sammy, but damn, you gotta give her credit. She put in that effort, and it makes her not getting nominated last episode worth it. And then the final episode, Ryan just wins it all with a banger-ass service. Oh man, this season's just too good. Just, I think it's obvious that Hell's Kitchen as a show is not all the massive phenomenon it was back in the day. Like, take for example Season 4's premiere and compare it to the premiere of Season 22's, and you'll notice the massive drop-off in terms of viewership. It also doesn't help that Hell's Kitchen went through a lot of highs and lows throughout its long run. And while there were a few seasons that did harken back to the classic era, the majority of them weren't anywhere close to reaching the heights that seasons 4 through 6 did. Season 22, for me at least, is not only a great season, but it's Hell's Kitchen to remind us that even if it's long since past its heyday, it's still capable of putting out great seasons. I'm gonna be honest, I think Season 22 is a season that could stand toe-to-toe with even some of the best seasons the show has to offer. And I'm not just talking about your Season 12s and 14s, I'm talking Seasons 5 and 6. Yeah, I think it's that good. It's got an incredible amount of narrative care, probably the best usage of both sous chefs in a long time, some really fun challenges, rewards that shouldn't have worked but did, a bunch of episodes that back-to-back-to-back slapped hardcore, and a theme that, while it did get repetitive at times, brought together my all-time favorite cast in the show's history. And seeing as how this inspired my chef ranking series, I cannot wait for the day where I get to talk about this cast. Anyway, that'll be it for me. If you like this video and want to see more, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. EternalOpossum out.